The Portland Trail Blazers have a new owner, and his name is Tom Dundon. Today, the Blazers' sale became official as they sell to the NHL's Carolina Hurricanes owner, Tom Dundon, who has property in Dallas, Texas, and Raleigh, North Carolina. This is an interesting sale because, one, it happened far sooner than people expected. This was said to be a 9 to 12 month process that would play out throughout the season. Well, it's literally August 13th right now, and the Blazers sale is official. I don't know how long it's going to take to legally ratify this, but it seems like the Blazers will have a new ownership group in place for the start of next season, which is going to be very interesting. They sell to a guy who has done a great job owning the Carolina Hurricanes of the NHL, who has become one of the best organizations in the NHL. He's done a really good job turning that franchise around, and now we can just hope that he does the same thing with the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, I saw that his listed net worth was $300 million, so this is obviously going to be quite an ownership group. How those dynamics will play out for the Portland Trail Blazers, we'll have to wait and see. But I had not heard of this guy before this morning. I don't pay a ton of attention to the NHL and their owners. So I'm finding out about this guy in real time like a lot of you guys are. But I'm going to basically, for this live stream, kind of scroll the internet, scroll Twitter, find out everything we can about this guy, give my thoughts, as well as calm down the people that are worried about the team moving. Like I said in the intro, this guy has property in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Dallas, Texas. Dallas is not going to have two teams. Charlotte is definitely not going to have two teams. They struggle with their sole team that they have right now. And the Hurricanes were in plenty of relocation rumors until Tom Dundon came in and really helped that organization out. That organization has really turned around. Now they have a solid foothold in North Carolina. So we're going to discuss this. One of the recent things that I saw is that one of the investors in this ownership group is Sheil Tile. I probably butchered that name, my apologies. But they are based in Portland. I've also heard that Tom Dundon has been interested in MLB expansion. Now, I assume that's for maybe the Charlotte area. I don't think they have much going there for pushing for an expansion team. Maybe he becomes involved in Portland's MLB expansion efforts. Either way, super fascinating sale, timing that I did not foresee. It was first reported, I believe, by Underdog NBA on Twitter, which was a little surprising, and everybody was just waiting around for the Shams tweet, which finally dropped. As Shams Charania tweeted out 29 minutes ago, NHL Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon has agreed to buy the Portland Trail Blazers from the estate of Paul G. Allen for a valuation of over $4 billion. So, Phil Knight made an offer for this team. It was reportedly a little over $2 billion, and I have called it a lowball offer. I mean, that is obvious considering the Blazers just sold for basically twice that. Over $4 billion sale as sports franchises and their valuations skyrocket right now. Also, apologies, the landscapers are out in full force out here. So, if there's background noise because of that, apologies. Did not plan on going live at 9:47 a.m. on August 13th. But give your thoughts about this in the comment section below. I'm going to answer a lot of questions during the stream because I know you guys have a lot of questions. If any of you are worried about the team moving, it was stated that he intends to keep the team in Portland, and I fully believe that. And I'm going to just basically try and learn as much about this guy as possible. Eric says, "Yo, Tori, who's mowing your lawn?" Yeah, my apologies. Maybe should have streamed from the other room, but we're here. Yeah, no, it's not my girlfriend doing my yard work. I promise you that. Anyway, so this is quite the bomb to be dropped on us on a Wednesday morning in August. And I'm going to pull up a couple things here to read off for all of you. One of the rumored owners is the husband of the woman who runs the Oregon Health Authority. Listen, if there are multiple people from Portland in this ownership group, that is great news for any of you who worry about the team moving out of Portland. We're going to have to wait and see just kind of how this ownership group is structured, because I don't believe Tom Dundon has anywhere near the net worth to even own 50% of the team. I'm going to confirm that number I heard earlier. Tom Dundon net worth. His net worth is estimated to be at $271 million. This team sold for $4 billion. Now, I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to knowing how ownership groups work and how teams are purchased and all that stuff, but I think you can make some assumptions that the owner being worth $271 million purchasing a $4 billion team, that just speaks to the other capital investment that he needed. I mean, shoot, what's Damian Lillard's net worth? $100 million. Okay. I was going to say, maybe I didn't think Damian Lillard had a higher net worth than him, but yeah, between $65 and $100 million. Beavis says, I heard he's worth $1.6 billion. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Net worth is a tricky thing, too. There was an article posted that I do want to read off. Chris S. says he will have leveraged his existing investments, including the NFL team. The NFL team? Does he have ownership in an NFL team? Like I said, I'm just finding out about this guy in real time. I don't think anybody really expected him to buy the team. But also, I'll say this. For those of you that are worried about somebody not from Portland purchasing this team, it was pretty obvious that it wasn't going to be somebody from Portland. It was pretty obvious that it was going to be somebody from somewhere else. And I'd rather have somebody from a place or places that already have NBA teams instead of somebody from, say, Seattle. The panic would be insane if somebody from Seattle purchased this team. And if there's people from Portland in this ownership group, that is definitely a good thing. For those of you who are worried about it, I mean, I have not been worried about the team moving, but it's always good to get reassurance. A new owner would have to jump through too many hoops, in my opinion, to try and get this team to move. I know people were worried about Adam Silver's comments talking about how the Blazers need a new arena, and it's his preference that they stay in Portland, which isn't necessarily the strongest way to sell that they want to keep the team in Portland. But ultimately, those comments, in my opinion, were just to give enough leverage to a new owner to negotiate with the city to get a new stadium built, potentially with public money. I understand if you don't want public money to fund a stadium. I'm not here to get into that sort of debate, but I believe those comments were mainly for that sole purpose, to give a new owner coming in the ability in the next decade to try and get a new stadium built working with the city. And if the city is fully comfortable and not worried about the team moving, the new owner ultimately has less leverage. There was an article by Sports Business Journal published on April 15th, 2024 titled Tom Dundon's Calculated Nature Made Him a Billionaire and Helped Transform Carolina into one of the NHL's premier franchises. In this article, I'm going to try and just kind of summarize it here. I'm not going to necessarily read off the whole thing. You can find it. You can search for it. But basically, it talks about how Tom Dundon stands alone at the top level of a luxury box on opening night for the Carolina Hurricanes 2023-2024 season, with his eyes intensely focused on the ice at PNC Arena. A team staffer said you might not want to talk to him too much while the game is going on, because while he loves owning the Carolina Hurricanes, there's a reason he doesn't love going to games, because of the chance that they might lose. So, I mean, just off that alone, it paints the picture of a guy that is invested in his team winning and losing games. That was a question that people had for Jody Allen as she took over the team after Paul Allen's passing. How invested was she in this team actually winning basketball games? Well, Tom Dundon, the new owner of this team, just based on this article alone, sounds like a guy that's going to be invested in this team winning and losing games, and that's kind of the bare minimum you can ask for out of a new owner, is that they want to see their team win. The article goes on to mention his home outside Dallas, and in Raleigh, he does not own a home. So let me Google, where exactly is he from? Okay, so Tom Dundon was born in New York City and raised in Texas, so he is from Texas. He owned an NHL team in Carolina that had relocation rumors and all sorts of stuff, and I think this article is about to get into it. Let me just skim here. This article continues to talk about how he's done a good job building the team. They had 2 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals since 2019. At the time of this article, which was April of 2024, I believe they were in the Stanley Cup Finals the last 2 years. NHL Stanley Cup Finals. So I'll update that stat. If I can find a list here. Oh, no, it's Florida Panthers is who I'm thinking of. Yeah, Florida Panthers have become like the cream of the crop in the NHL, made the NHL Finals the last 3 times. But yeah, the Carolina Panthers have been a very competitive team in the NHL. See, I don't know hockey. I know baseball, I know football, I know basketball, I even know NASCAR. I don't know hockey. But this article, and I want to read this part verbatim for those of you that are worried about a new owner coming in and moving the team. The Hurricanes, after long being the subject of relocation rumors, the team has a more secure future in Raleigh than ever. Last August, Dundon reached a deal to extend the team's lease through 2043-2044 season and to redevelop the land around PNC Arena into a transformative mixed-use development. By most estimates, the value of the Hurricanes have more than doubled since Dundon bought majority control of the team from longtime owner Peter Kamarnos Jr. Dundon became the sole owner in 2021 after buying that dude's shares. So he is from Texas, became owner of a Carolina NHL team that he could have tried to relocate. They had a ton of relocation rumors, and instead he helped them become a quality NHL organization and extend their lease through 2044. Okay? Now, reports are, he's buying the Blazers with people in his ownership group from Portland. It's not like Dallas needs a second team. I guess some people might worry about Austin, Texas, but This is about as good as you could have hoped for a guy that you can feel good about being committed to keeping the Portland Trail Blazers in Portland, with people from Portland in his ownership group, as well as a history of him owning a team somewhere else, not in the biggest market, and an organization that was struggling and had relocation rumors, and securing their place in that city. That is as good of a track record as you could hope for a new owner of your Portland Trail Blazers. There is talk in this article about how Dundon is a top choice to be a potential lead investor for a group aiming to bring an MLB team to Carolina. But he's not from Carolina. I really do wonder if part of this has something to do with MLB to PDX somehow. Maybe it doesn't. It sounds very complicated, but that'd be pretty cool. So he's also an investor in Topgolf. He also has become the most influential behind-the-scenes figure in the fast-growing sport of pickleball. For all you people that love pickleball, this is your guy, apparently. So Hurricanes Chief Marketing Officer Mike Foreman had this to say about Tom Dundon. He said the biggest thing about Tom is he's super competitive. So if all of a sudden it's either us or another city that's going to get an MLB team, he's going to do whatever it takes to win. I like the sound of having an owner that will do whatever it takes to win. Now, this article also says he has deep pockets. His net worth evaluation on the internet doesn't really say so I don't know how much money this dude truly has, and I don't know how much money this ownership group is going to be willing to throw to the Portland Trail Blazers, especially when you have luxury tax penalties and severe penalties for being past the second apron. So I'm not, I don't have the expectation that this new ownership group is necessarily going to dip into the luxury tax year after year, but I want an owner that is competitive and wants to turn this organization into a top flight franchise, and it's nice having one that has already kind of done that with another sports franchise and one of the 4 major sports in America. So I'm just reading through a little bit more of this article. If you guys have any little insight tidbits, you can feel free to share them in chat. Erase this story. If MLB comes to Portland, do you stick with the Mariners? That's tough, man. I'd be a Portland fan and maybe a Mariner fan. I'd hope they'd be in different leagues, honestly. Be interesting. Rose City USA says, hopefully Jody gave us a solid way out by selling to him. I mean, Paul Allen's wishes were for this team to be in Portland. That was her brother. I would be surprised if Jody was just like, screw it, we're going to sell to somebody that wants to move this team. Even if somebody wanted to move the team, there would be so many hoops to jump through. The NBA has already had a debacle having one franchise relocate from the Pacific Northwest going elsewhere, and now it's just like Seattle deserves a team. Seattle deserves a team, which they absolutely do deserve a team, and I wish they had a team. The I-5 rivalry is something that I would love to experience as somebody that runs a freaking YouTube channel covering the Portland Trail Blazers. So the NBA, I doubt, is going to let that happen again, and I don't think this owner is the type of guy to let that happen again. He didn't let it happen in Carolina, and reportedly he has members from Portland in his ownership group. So really, really excited about this. Sam Dooley says, talk is cheap. Show me you want to win. I mean, he's done that with Carolina, so give this dude a chance. Like, I am very excited for this new ownership group. I'm very excited to see what they do. And listen, they might be great. They might struggle. I'll call it like it is. But I welcome them in with open arms. It was time for a change in ownership. And I expect this guy to be a good NBA owner. He was a good owner and is a good owner of the Carolina Hurricanes of the NHL. So super, super excited about this news. Super, super excited to see what the next phase of the Portland Trail Blazers looks like. We're in the middle of this youth movement right now. We brought back Damian Lillard. Now we got a new owner. This has been a fantastic offseason. This has been a really, really fun offseason. And there's hope again. There is hope again as a Portland Trail Blazer fan that I have not felt in years. And it's really, really nice to feel that. It's really, really nice. I know a lot of you share those same sentiments where you couldn't watch the team until Jody sold and, we didn't have Dame here. We let Dame go somewhere else, which was just kind of ridiculous in the first place. And now we have a new owner. Now we have Dame back. We took a step forward last year for the first time in many years. We actually progressed and started building an identity for the first time in quite a while. A lot of good things are happening for your Portland Trail Blazers, and you should be very, very excited. Very, very excited. Cordell says, so do I call back and renew our season tickets now or what? LOL. I mean, I think this team's going to be a joy to watch next year. I still think it's going to be tough for them to crack it into the playoffs. I think it's going to be 50-50 on if they make the play-in. Like, the West is absolutely loaded next year. I talked about this in my last live stream Monday night. But as long as they keep progressing and improving and going in the right direction, and now that they have a new ownership group, that is a good thing. That is a good thing. The Blazers can miss the playoffs and have a successful season next year. Shout out to Rai for some more information on Shield Tile, who's a reported part of this ownership group. Says Shield Tile, part of the ownership group. He's a Portland guy, and his wife is the OHA director and was a senior White House policy advisor for Joe Biden. That's good news. Now, this is, I don't know. I'm still very curious to see, how this ownership group is structured, given that it's a $4+ billion purchase. Florida Panthers owner Vinny Viola, who considers Dundon a friend, said he and Dundon have bonded over their mutual penchant for using statistics to drive their business decisions. Dundon's actually kind of shy, Viola said. I don't think people see him that way, but I do. He's a family stay-at-home guy. Dundon has 5 children ranging in age from 7 to 22, with his wife of 23 years, Verushka. Spent more time in Raleigh than usual last summer to nail down the terms of the lease extension and redevelopment agreements. He visits a couple times a month during the season for a day or two, not quite as often as he did when he first bought the team and needed to fix things up. So, he doesn't seem like a guy that's necessarily going to attend a ton of games. We'll see. Which is, of course, different than Paul Allen, and even Jody Allen attended a lot of games, but they were from the Northwest. This guy, not from the Northwest, so I wouldn't expect him to be at every game. I'd expect him to be at opening night and, maybe big games, but this doesn't seem like the guy that you should worry if he's not attending games, that he's not invested, is what it sounds like. Because this article goes on to say, though he isn't a constant physical presence in Raleigh, he's far from an absentee owner. Tom is very in tune with what's going on with his team, said Dallas Stars president Brad Alberts, who corresponds with Dundon regularly about both business and hockey. The economics, salaries that are paid to players, the culture around his group, there's no question about it. In fact, Dundon is known as being the most hands-on bosses in the league. He bristles at this characterization. I don't even live here, he says, but those he's closest to in the organization aren't afraid to say so. You name it, he's involved in all of it. I don't think you have another owner in sports that's as involved in his team as he is. So you can take that as a good thing, you can take that as a bad thing. An owner that meddles too much if they don't know what they're doing, is generally a problem, but it's not like this hasn't produced good results with the Carolina Hurricanes. So for those of you that would worry about this type of thing, he's had good results with the team that he owns. Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, also characterized Dundon as very hands-on, noting that his office hours hears from the Hurricanes owner multiple times a week. So Adam Silver, get your phone ready. This is a quote from the NHL's commissioner. Our hockey operations people, our officiating people will hear from him if there's a call he's concerned about after the fact, of course, not during the game. He's always raising good questions about the CBA and the salary cap, and he's always trying to make sure that the Hurricanes are doing everything possible within the rules to get an edge. So Tom Dundon learned at an early age that he liked money. He was willing to hustle to get it. There's a quote from him saying, I always wanted to have money if I didn't have it. It's always been enjoyable to me to figure out how to make money. Dundon did not grow up wealthy. In fact, he says, I didn't know what Wall Street was. I didn't know anything more than being an electrician or whatever. I thought I would have been much more blue collar. That's how I thought about this world. So he spent his early childhood in Atco, New Jersey, a small town 25 miles southeast of Philadelphia. He says he was literally poor. I lived in my mom's one-bedroom apartment and had like $100,000 in debt. This is after he graduated with a degree in economics in 1993. His first professional venture, a burger restaurant called Izzy's, was a flop and shut down within a year. So yeah, everything that I hear about this guy I like. Anyway, I'll take your thoughts. I'll take your questions. I'm still kind of reading stuff here as I just learned about this dude this morning. Smug says only bad thing is the AAF stuff. What is the AAF stuff? I did not read the AAF stuff. I'll search it. Or please tell me in chat, because nothing... It's going to take me a while. Oh, the Alliance of American Football. Okay, here's an article. The Alliance of American Football played 8 weeks of games before folding in 2019, but legal battles over who was at fault for the league's demise and who still owed recompense has continued for nearly 6 years. Tom Dundon was like involved in owning this league. Yeah, somebody give me a summary. I'm not going to read off a whole article. Apparently he bought the AAF with no intention of investing in it and just wanted a tax credit. So yeah, in February 2019, he reportedly promised an investment of $250 million into the league. Dundon would ultimately contribute roughly $70 million before the league was shuttered that April, leaving the players to pay their own way home. The AAF filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy 2 weeks later. ESPN later reported that the league made about $12 million in revenue against an annual operating cost of more than $100 million Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. And he contributed $70 million to a league that was making $12 million in revenue. Yeah, I don't know. Any football league that isn't the NFL is always a mess. He bought the league just to kill it. I don't know. I don't know. See, for me, like, I'm going to care more about what he's done as a sports franchise owner than somebody that bought into a non-NFL football league, which it just sounds like a mess to me. I don't know enough about the situation, so I'm not going to speculate on it. I'm not going to speculate about it. Is that worse than penguin bones? That's the real question. Is that worse than penguin bones? I don't know. That's for you guys to decide if that's worse than the penguin bones. But yeah, like, here's the thing: you're gonna have something that you can look at with any billionaire or any sports owner more often than not, where it's like, yeah, this dude was involved in a scandal, or this dude made a shady financial transaction. How rich is he? His net worth is listed at $271 million, according to the internet, but I believe it's probably much higher than that. But it's going to be an ownership group, with them being the controlling owners. What has been reported. I hope he brings NHL to Portland also. Well, I mean, he already owns an NHL team, and he's not going to move them, so. Kyle Wilson says no one is clean with that much money. Yeah, usually not. So, I like what I'm hearing, man. I like what I'm hearing. I like the way it seems like he runs his sports franchises. Outside of maybe the potential that he's maybe a little too hands-on. But what does that mean? Does that mean he's invested in, like, the day-to-day where he wants quality people that he wants to also allow to do their jobs? Like, if he's calling the league about, like, CBA questions and salary cap stuff and, like, involved in that way, it's not a bad thing. Like, everybody hears, like, hands-on owner. Well, not everybody, but, like, there's people out there that hear the term hands-on owner and they panic. But you can be hands-on in different ways. Hands-on owner is kind of a generalization. And I think the people that worry about it are like, oh, this dude's going to be, like, telling Joe Cronin what trades to make. And he's going to be, like, making basketball personnel decisions. But a hands-on owner can put people in place to make those decisions and just might want, like, insight into the reasoning and will be hands-on in terms of just, like, running the business. You can be a hands-on owner and still delegate what you need to properly delegate to the front office and whatever. So, I'm not going to worry about that quote. I know some people might. YYC says, as long as he's not like Matt Ishbia, too hands-on when he wanted the big three with the Suns. I mean, here's the thing, though, about Matt Ishbia. He went for it in a way that owners normally don't. He had Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and the rest of the team kind of floundered, and the Beal trade was obviously bad. But, like, he came in and was willing to do whatever it took to try and help that team win a championship. He just made the wrong decisions. But even then, it was like, you're trading for Kevin Durant, who still at the time he was traded for was like a top 6 player in the league. So, I know that it really, really backfired and they're in a really bad position now, but getting an owner that is willing to go for it is not the worst thing in my mind. You just hope that it's a little more calculated where you have people in the front office that know what they're doing. I'd rather have an owner that goes for it and fails than one that doesn't care and just wants to make a little bit of money and is content being a play-in team. No one blames him for the KD trade, but everything else he did was completely reckless and idiotic. I mean, trading Chris Paul for Bradley Beal, I don't think was the. I think it looks terrible in hindsight because Beal just didn't pan out. But you're talking about trading a 38-year-old Chris Paul for a guy that was a star. It just wasn't the right team fit. But I don't really view it as reckless. It just really, really backfired. NHL and NBA share an arena, something an owner would like if he owns the stadium. Yeah, but he already owns an NHL team. He can't own two NHL teams. And he's not going to move the Carolina Hurricanes here, so I don't really see how that works out. When I want a hands-on owner, it would be someone like Mark Cuban. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Listen, we're not going to know exactly how he's going to be as an owner. I think based on what we've heard, we can feel really good about the team staying in Portland and having an owner that's invested. And that was kind of the two biggest things for me for a new owner is somebody that you can feel good about. Team's not getting moved. It wasn't something I was worrying about, but just having that reassurance is nice. And hopefully for those of you out there that are screaming the team's going to get moved, you now have that reassurance that they're not. And then I just want to have an organization that holds themselves to the highest standard. Because in the past few years, it hasn't really felt like this organization is holding themselves to the highest standard. This guy came in and raised the standard for the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm hoping he could do the same thing with the Portland Trail Blazers. Does he have any ties to Portland? Nope, but he also didn't have any ties to the Carolina Hurricanes. Raleigh area. Smog, that is correct. Yes, the Hurricanes were a relocation candidate before he bought them, and now they're on a 20-year lease, and they're developing the arena and the area around them. Now, the Moda Center thing is a thing that's going to linger. I bet you that he's going to want to have a new stadium built, and obviously, as any businessman would want to use as little of his money as possible to build it, which means public money, which is always kind of a messy thing. I hope that doesn't become too messy, because the alternative is a full-scale renovation of Moda Center and then somehow some work around the arena to change the land around the arena. There's just nothing around the arena at all. He's doing that with the Carolina Hurricanes arena, developing the area around it. I just don't know how you do that in Portland. I don't really know how that looks in Portland because you're right up against the river. You're right up against some train tracks. You're right up against I-5. You can't really go south. The area that have to be redeveloped is destroying the Memorial Coliseum, which is a designated historical landmark. So that doesn't sound like that's on the table. Or somehow developing the area to the north of the arena. At that point, for an owner coming in, it is going to likely be the case where it's you know what, let's just get a new arena with a little bit of space that we can develop an area around it and have a brand new, shiny stadium. If I was buying the team, I would probably want to do that. Chad Coe says he invested $1 billion. $1 billion. It's a lot of money. Into arena renovation and surrounding area. If you can do that with Moda and extend the lifetime of the stadium and develop the land around the arena, that's great. I don't know what the area around the Carolina Hurricane Stadium was like and what renovations they made, but I think it's going to be tough. You don't really have many options for land that you can redevelop around the arena. Didn't Phil Knight buy a bunch of area around the stadium to improve? I am not sure. But if he did, then maybe he sells the land. And listen, if this new ownership group is buying land around the Moda Center to redevelop it, that says that they're planning on staying at Moda Center for a long time. But with the age of the arena, it's like, is that the move to redevelop the area around the Moda Center? Because you don't just do that to move out of a stadium 10 years later. I mean, maybe you could. Maybe there's a financial justification for it business-wise, but doesn't really make logical sense to me. We'll have to see. Kenny D says, how is Mark Cuban meddlesome? There's a difference between being meddlesome and a hands-on owner. In my mind, meddlesome implies you're meddling in things that you're not supposed to. Like, being hands-on isn't necessarily inherently a bad thing. Just depends on, like, what you're hands-on with. Oh, he said that because Eric Olson said Cuban was too meddlesome. I thought Cuban did a great job running that organization. They won a championship with him. They made a finals with him. Like, if we have a meddlesome owner that helps the Blazers win a championship, I will absolutely accept that and celebrate it. Of course, Eric is gone when he gets... Yeah, I did not expect this to happen when Eric was gone. Anyway, I'll answer your questions and comments for 5 or 10 more minutes, and I'll wrap up the stream. We'll be live again tomorrow night. Apparently, the schedule is dropping tomorrow, so we can react to that, and we can talk a little bit more about the new owner. Eric does know that it happened. When Underdog NBA tweeted about it, I was like, I quote tweet, I said, and Eric responded in our group chat. He said, why, I'm like, because it's Underdog NBA tweeted about it. You know, it wasn't what I was expecting to break the news of a sale. So, it was a little confusing at first. How do we get the new owner on the stream? I don't know. Any of you know him? Out by the Hop Stadium in Hillsboro. Hell no to putting an arena in freaking Hillsboro, man. I am not trying to drive 45 minutes to Blazer games. That's so out of the way. That is so out of the way. That is too out of the way. Furthest away would probably be Gladstone. I would like it near the center of the city. Does the Blazers selling for $4 billion have an impact on expansion tax? I'm not sure what you mean. Landon Cottrell says apparently he's so invested in winning he sometimes skipped Hurricane games or left early if they were losing because he hated it. Could be an awful excuse though, LOL. No, like that's apparently how he is. He hates losing. He's a very competitive guy. How long have I been talking about how I want this organization to be very competitive in terms of like the standard they hold themselves to, like wanting to be the best of the best. So I love that. I love that. Now, I don't think as the owner, like leaving early is necessarily the best look, but like apparently he would watch games from a box. So it's like, who would even notice other than whoever's up there with him? But like, yeah, I've wanted an ownership group that is competitive, that wants to win championships and wants to hold this organization to that standard. And it sounds like we got the guy for that. Does this mean we're trading Scoot for Brandon Ingram? Tristan, you're funny. Anyway, we'll be live again tomorrow night. I'll talk more about this. We'll see what more comes out. I'll do a little bit more research about this guy. Tom Dundon, your new owner of the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers officially sell far sooner than we all expected. And they sell to a guy that's done a great job with the Carolina Hurricanes of the NHL, a team that was in relocation talk, had relocation rumors. And he came in as an outsider for that organization, gave them a foundation, has turned them into a pretty good NHL franchise. Do you think this new owner really pushes Cronin to trade Grant? I don't think this new owner is going to come in and just be like, yeah, give up. He needs to probably learn about the NBA and the CBA and salary cap and that sort of stuff. Also, it doesn't seem, I don't know. Like, I don't think he's the owner that's just going to come in and completely dictate moves. The Blazers don't, have means to trade Grant. They don't have a way to trade him in a way that makes sense. That's just the unfortunate reality. So, I would not have hope of Grant getting traded even with a new owner. That just feels like what the kids say, copium. I thought this team was going to auction, or was that what happened? I don't know. I thought we're going to have this thing play out all season long because it's an auction process, and I don't even really know what that means beyond people were going to bid on the team, and now we just, new owner. So I don't know if there was a bidding process or what the hell happened or why this happened so fast when all the talk was that it might take up to a year. But regardless, I'm excited for this new ownership group. Welcome to Portland, Tom Dundon. Like that we have an investor in this ownership group from the Portland area. And hopefully he gets involved with bringing MLB to PDX. Landon says, damn, so Phil Knight's $2 billion offer 3 years ago really was an insane lowball. It absolutely was. I called it that at the time. Especially when they weren't actively selling at that point. Yeah, that offer was not a serious offer. And people were mad at Jody for not selling the team to Phil Knight when Phil Knight didn't give them a real offer. But if this dude could make it happen, I feel like Phil Knight could have made it happen, and he didn't. So, In classic Blazer fashion, news always seems to come out of nowhere. Absolutely. That's the way it always goes, man. That's the way it always goes. Was not expecting to be streaming this morning. But anyway, that's a wrap for this live stream. Quick little live stream to talk about this breaking news. I'll be on Twitter. You can tweet questions at me. We'll see if there's any other news about this sale. But if there is any other news, I'll of course talk about it tomorrow night. We'll have a live stream tomorrow to talk about the new schedule, the new owner, bunch of new things. We love new things. And I am excited for this upcoming season, man. Landon says the complete 180 in morale from last summer to this one was insane. Yeah, I needed it. We needed it. We needed some hope. We finally have some hope. Hopefully Tom Dundon can come in here and do a great job. And hopefully the Blazers can win more games than they lose next season. There's a chance. There's a chance. Anyway, I'm out of here. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. Appreciate you guys joining me this morning. And I'll catch you tomorrow night. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!